Today on Awaken and Ascend, my special guest believes everyone deserves to thrive and not just survive. Finance and mindful money expert and master prosperity coach, Joel Salomon, is joining me today from New York City to share his secrets on how to create money miracles. I'm Jennifer Regular, your host, and also the Soul Illuminator at Lighting the Path. Joel is an award-winning speaker, workshop facilitator, and frequent television and podcast guest who has been quoted in the Wall Street Journal, Newsday, U.S. News, and World Report. He has also been interviewed in Forbes and on Bloomberg Radio. As manager of a $700 million portfolio, the creator of his own hedge fund, and the author of 3 best-selling books, Joel is an expert in the field of finance and the mindset of money. Just as he teaches in his books and seminars, the true foundation of wealth and financial freedom is a mindset of abundance, self-worth, gratitude, love, and service. Welcome, Joel. It is so wonderful to have you here with me today.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here with you.
I love it. I love it whenever we get together because I get to hear all these client stories of all the magic and miracles that are created by, a few sessions with you and your membership and your courses through your books. And it's so exciting that these techniques actually work. And sometimes I think people are under the impression that a real money miracle would be like winning the lottery. But I have a sense that's not quite what you mean. So please share.
There's all type of money miracles, right? The most important one, I think, is shifting your money mindset. And when you shift your vibration around money from fear and worry to expectation and fun, that's when the miracles happen. And they may not be happening in the physical reality immediately. But I say time is an illusion anyway. And so it may have happened in the non-physical world and you're just waiting for it to receive because you're not vibrating on the same frequency as the shift that has occurred yet. So there's just so much to unpack in terms of money miracles. And basically in the 9 Money Rules Millionaires Use, my second book, we go through a lot of the techniques that I teach in my courses for my one-on-one coaching clients. And money manifestation, yes, it can be the lottery, but there's 1,000 other ways to create and manifest. And what I guess my mission, you may know, is to help at least 100,000 people become financially free. And I'd love for you to be one of them. If you're not yet, maybe you are already, but if you're not yet, I'd love for you to be one of them. And I want everyone who's listening or watching this podcast to be one of them as well. And like you said, Jennifer, I truly believe we were born to thrive. When we first come onto this earth, we have that belief, we have that thought, and then things happen in the physical reality, which lowers our vibration. And so then we're a gap away from the abundance and prosperity. We're not the same frequency. We have to shift that frequency in order to create. And so that's what I teach my clients, and things are gelling, I have to say. In my Money Miracles membership, we're up to $1,310,000 of money manifested.
Wow.
Over 300,000. Yeah, over 300,000 in just the last 6 weeks, which is just like, psh. And then my one-on-one coaching clients have manifested over $3 million now, which also is just crazy awesome.
So how is it that some people can do that? Like, what creates the struggle, you think? What lowers our vibration? What makes it feel like such a struggle to survive, to earn money, to make money, to work hard? Like, where does all of that come from, do you think, Joel?
I think from rule number 1, which is when you believe. And your beliefs are just thoughts that you keep on thinking over and over again. And I think what happens a lot of the time, or maybe almost all of the time, is we're focused on the physical reality. we don't pretend enough. Somebody actually asked me this week, should I really be spending all this time pretending? And I said, well, absolutely. If you're vibrating down here because you're focused on what is, and what is a bank account that doesn't have a lot of money in it, a job that's not generating enough to cover your expenses, then stop focusing there. Spend some time on rule number 4, visualizing, daydreaming on purpose. I was talking to somebody else this week, and I said to them, the biggest problem and issue with school is they scream at the kids, stop daydreaming, focus. It's not serving you. Go back to daydreaming on purpose and think about what you want to happen. And I just had a client literally today who is not, how do I say, the most woo person. He's not the most spiritual person in the world. And so I taught him how to visualize. And so he's been doing it off and on, but just this month, he decided he's going to do it daily. And so he started, and 2 days after he started visualizing what he wanted to happen in a particular situation, he actually got a call, and that situation is now in progress. And he said to me, this is just insane. This doesn't happen. Like, this situation doesn't happen. And yet we got the call, which what I was visualizing, and he was visualizing ease and freedom, the feelings that go along with the result of this settlement. And in 48 hours, he had shifted the feelings that he had before visualizing to a different feeling, which created the same frequency, which created the surprise. Now, it hasn't fully manifested yet, but it's on its way. And he said to me, visualizing in the beginning, it's hard to swallow, because like, you think, oh, all I'm doing is thinking about what I want to happen, and that will make it happen. But then he said to me, the other thing that happens when you visualize, which is so insightful, is that you want to take action. You want to take action because you see the future and the freedom and the feeling, and it makes you want to take the action steps necessary in order to create that future. Very insightful.
And you're right, it's not just thinking about it or trying to believe it, it's actually conjuring up those feelings. And that buildup creates the momentum. Like you say, it inspires action to make that call, to take on that opportunity, to leave something that's bringing you down or not serving you, to make a change in some way that's been inspired by those feelings that you're creating. So here you talk about those feelings and the vibration and the frequency, and essentially becoming a money magnet, right?
Exactly. That's a great affirmation. I am a money magnet.
I am a money magnet.
Now, one of the things I teach that most people don't when they teach affirmations is to believe what you're saying. Because if you say, I am a money magnet, now I know in my heart of hearts I am, so I'm a 10 on the belief scale, where 10 is absolute faith and 1 is massive doubt. But if you say, I am a money magnet, and you're like, that's not true. Look at my bank account. Look at this. Look at that. Then soften it. I'm on my way to becoming a money magnet. I allow myself to be a money magnet. And if your belief is an 8, 9, or 10, say that instead, until you get to a point where you are fully believing that you're a money magnet, and there's evidence as well. You walk down the street and you find the $5 bill, US, Canadian, Euro, whatever it is. And you're like, oh, look, the money's coming, the money's flowing. Or in the business, this happened to one of my clients just a few weeks ago, where I work with entrepreneurs to level them up, to get them to charge a higher price, because a lot of people They don't charge the right price because they don't feel they're worthy. So we got her to double her prices. And last year, she made all of last year in her business 40,000 US dollars. 2 weeks ago, she made $8,000 in 1 week.
Wow.
Now she can say, I am a money magnet.
Yes.
And the important part of the story was she wasn't going out and doing a lot of outreach, which I recommend doing. We worked on sales scripts and protocols and processes and mindset. Mm-hmm. Most importantly, getting her to say in her car where she's commuting or while she's walking in nature or taking her jog or whatever it is, the investment in my program is $5,000. So she could be confident enough and feel it in her heart that she was worthy of that. Mm-hmm. She said it enough times, got confident enough. But what happened was somebody came to her. She was an outreach. Somebody came to her who had heard about her through whatever she's doing. And so to me, that's a money manifestation, right? It wasn't like she did something, the client came to her out of the blue and she sold her the $5,000 package.
Amazing. Amazing.
So yes. So that is when you're shifting your energy, then you become a money magnet and the money flows to you. And she said it was seamless. It was not a sale. I was just servicing her for half an hour until she said, how much is it? I told her and she said, okay, how do I sign up?
Yeah. So it's transforming those limiting beliefs into empowering beliefs. And you also spoke about ease with the other person too, that they were created a daily habit of creating ease and flow in their lives. So it's those habitual things that we do every day that also help us build that momentum, strengthen those newer beliefs, and then we can actually see the results. And then we want to create more because that's fun.
Exactly.
See money show up for you, especially in unexpected ways.
Absolutely. And when you know you're abundant and you know there's $450 trillion of net worth on this earth, and it's grown from 1 trillion 120 years ago, I can't even conceive of 1 trillion and then to multiply it by 450 times. It's almost infinite. But when you create from a feeling of abundance, you'll want to almost give it away. Because you're so abundant, your thought process is such that I don't even need this. And I'm going to provide for others because I'm in the flow and more is going to flow to me. So when I hear, I don't want to have more money, that's from a position of lack and scarcity, because if you had the $10 million, you could give 9 away and help others in various different ways, almost an infinite number of ways.
Yeah.
So the abundant people don't ever talk about, greedy. Somebody on a call in the last week talked to me about being greedy. And I said, well, greedy is when you want more and more and you're not in the flow, so you're hoarding. Mm-hmm. But all the abundant people I know, they're giving away enormous sums of money. And I wouldn't ever consider them greedy. They want more they want some nice things, but they want more also because they can provide for others. And that is rule number 6 in the 9 money rules, giving, the law of generous giving.
The law of generous giving. I love that, especially for a lot of our viewers and listeners who are really into service, being of service, and then wanting to sustain themselves too in the process. And you touched on something I think is really important, is that shift out of poverty consciousness into prosperity consciousness. And Joel, I think one big elephant in the room in the world, so to speak, right now, right, is that there is this fear of scarcity and uncertainty and wondering what's going on with inflation and the banks in the US and what's going to happen, what that means for money, and all of this confusion and conflict around digital currency and all the different ways money presents itself these days. So, how do we stay true to those empowering beliefs, stay in that prosperity consciousness when there's so much in the collective that's fearful, that's uncertain, that's getting caught up in a different kind of consciousness, if you will?
Yeah. Focusing on the physical reality when it's not serving you is not helpful.
Hmm.
And I know this may sound really absurd and crazy for some of your viewers and listeners, but I have not read a newspaper, watched TV news, or listened to news radio since 2012.
Yes. I can relate. Yes. As an
It's
empath,
not
I can.
serving, for me, it's not serving me. And people say, well, how do you get your news? And I'm like, well, if there's something major like a pandemic and I go to Chipotle and I can't get in, I know there's something going on.
That's exactly what
So
happened to me. I went to pick up plane tickets and everything was shut down. I didn't know why.
you figure it out, you move on. But that, by reading the newspapers and hearing about this bank or that bank, it's not serving you.
Mhm.
People have literally asked me in the last few weeks, should I take my money out of my bank? This
Hmm.
happened also in 2008. In
Mhm.
2008, when I was managing money at Citi, I had friends call me up and say, should I take money out of Citibank? Should I take money out of Bank of America? I said, well, look, if they're going down, we have really, really serious problems, more than your little bit of money, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be okay.
Mhm.
So I actually did a video on this. I do a reel, by the way, every day on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's Joel Prosperity Salomon, absolutely free, obviously, on all these platforms. And I did a reel about when Silicon Valley Bank had to be taken over by the US Federal Reserve Bank. And there was a lot of fear out there. And I said, look, every day you have a choice. You wake up, you can live your life in fear, you can live your life in faith. For everything, not just about your money in the bank, but all aspects of life. And so you get to choose your thoughts. No one else does. You get to choose. So you can choose faith or you could choose fear. And I highly recommend choosing faith. Choose that everything's going to be okay. That's actually chapter 3 in my book, The 9 Money Rules. Choose faith over fear.
Yes.
And look, I know when I was growing up, my parents' house got robbed twice. I walked in on the robbers the second time. And so I assume, and other things happened to me growing up. So I assumed, even though I'd probably only met 1,000 people in the world, that everyone, all 8 billion, were mean, evil, and out to get you.
Mm.
Terrible assumption.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are making those kinds of assumptions these days, even though they've only met 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 or whatever, 1,000 people, not the other 7,999,000,000. So I now assume that people are kind, caring, and out to support me. Strange thing happened over the last 10 or 15 years since I've been doing that. I get more and more people who are kind, caring, and out to support me.
Yes.
You get what you think about most of the time.
Mhm. I love it. I love it. And so this is how we can produce money miracles, is believing in
Absolutely.
them.
Now,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then I wanted to go back to giving for a second because it may be the most powerful of the 9 money rules. And I have clients who come to me really, really struggling. And, for example, one might have been kicked out of her apartment if she didn't manifest some money in just a few weeks.
Mhm.
And so it may sound really counterintuitive, but I teach those who are most in need to give money, not just time. You may have a special gift, give that as well. I'm jogging every morning. I smile to my people I'm going by. big smile. Maybe I've changed one person's day today, who knows? But I actually recommend giving dollars, pounds, loonies, euros. And in the book, I quote John Templeton, some say the best investor of all time, who said he hadn't met anybody who hadn't given at least 10% of his earnings each year over a 10-year period, who then have massively more wealth at the end of the 10 years than at the beginning. And people will say to me, Joel, but if I give my money away, I have less money. How does that work? And I tell them money is just energy. And by putting it out into the world, it must flow back to you. Putting it out without resistance, it will flow back to you. Now, I'm not saying it's coming from the same person you gave it to or the same charity or organization, but it will flow back to you. And in my life, whenever I've felt lack and I gave, it's amazing what's happened. One example, by the way, is my first book, Mindful Money Management. The sales were not great after that first weekend. And I don't know why, but this was before my second book, and I decided that I would just get 50 books and give them away. And over the next few weeks, that's what I did. Every person I met in Manhattan or wherever I was, I gave a book. And sales shifted dramatically in the next few months.
Wow.
So I'm all in on giving. And one of my clients who was feeling really scarce, he looked at his bank account 3 times a day, really worried as the numbers were going down. I said, 1, stop looking, 2, visualize on what you want to happen, and 3, give. And whenever you're feeling lack, give, because it will shift. And by the way, anyone who's watching and listening to this, I guarantee you, there are billions of people on this earth, billions, who would die to trade places with you for even just one day. You're living the dream life of billions of people. Breathe that in.
That's something that used to tell me too, that there's always someone worse off than you.
Then feel abundant, because you are. And abundance is not just money. Prosperity is not just money, right? I mean, family is riches, memories are riches. There's so much abundance on this earth. I was telling my Money Miracles membership members today, somebody who was feeling lack, I said, think about the 48 million heartbeats you take a year. That's abundance. Think about when you go outside and you're walking in a park, to count the blades of grass. That's pretty impossible. There's almost an infinite amount of grass on this earth. But even more so, go to the water, go to the ocean and count the drops of water in the ocean. And then count the amount of solar energy that the sun provides from billions of miles away. There's infinite abundance, and there's so much prosperity on this earth that we completely ignore on a daily basis.
And this is something we can really take in, to recognize that we can thrive. We don't need to struggle just to survive. And you're saying if we are struggling, to be able to give without resistance and watch what comes back to you. That's the miracle, right?
Yes. And if you're an entrepreneur, by the way, you may have volatile income. You may make 20,000 or 30,000 or more a month, and then some months you may have 0. So what I recommend is setting up a automatic deduction from your account to some charity, to whatever resonates with you, and give that amount every month. And then when you have more coming in, give more. Like John Templeton said, at least 10%. Now, if you really have limiting beliefs and you believe you can't do 10%, then start with a few percent. and take some baby steps on the way. Every year, increase it 1%. Maybe start with 3% and go to 4 and then 5 over 7 years. But start. If you're not doing that, highly recommend it. It will shift feelings very quickly.
Getting comfortable with what initially feels uncomfortable.
The only way you grow.
Yes.
To be uncomfortable, to leave your comfort zone. And people asked me why I put a king cobra snake around my neck in India a couple of months ago.
Why did
I
you?
said, because I wanted to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yes.
To have some growth, to know that I can be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And I meditated and breathed into what one of my co-facilitators, Chara Rodriguera, tells me every week: just breathe, just breathe. And so while the snake was getting tighter and tighter around the neck, I breathed and sent that snake all my love.
Shifting love. Shifting from fear to love. Yes. That's what brings out lots of vital energy. That's what love can stand for when we look at the acronym. Lots of vital energy.
Yes, great acronym. Lots of vital energy. I talk about in the book as well, in Choose Faith Over Fear. One of my biggest fears growing up was dogs. So I got bit by a dog twice. And now I jog, as I mentioned, every day. I go through this park and there are lots of dogs off leash, just running around. And every time I see a dog, I send them love. I picture the dog licking my face and I'm loving him or her, and she or he is loving me. And there have been some incidents as recently as this year when a dog has jumped and barked at me, and I noticed that I wasn't sending the love at that moment. Once I shifted, their energy shifted. I used to tell my daughters when they were younger and they got bullied, I said, can you promise me tomorrow when you go to school to send love to the bully? You don't have to tell them out loud, but when you go walk by them, just in your head, say it a few times and see what happens, just as a test. And things shifted really quickly.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I love how you've encouraged us to move out of our comfort zone into our growth zone, because that's what you get into once you go over the edge and risk being on that edge and taking just a baby step, if that's all you're willing to take at this moment, just those smaller risks, but taking those steps so that you do move into your growth zone, so that you do move from survival to thriving, so that you do shift from fear into love and out of fear into faith, right? And staying away from the media that conjures up more fear into faith. And faith, even if you don't believe in a higher consciousness at this point, faith is also an acronym for finding answers in the heart. So instead of finding answers out there in the media and authorities and so on, you can find answers in the heart by just returning to that place of love. Yeah, so beautiful. And how do people find you, Joel? How can people connect?
Well, here it is, Salomon.com, SALAURMOR.com. My company name is named after my daughters, Lauren and Morgan. So Laura for Lauren, More for Morgan. And I love to give, I'm all about giving, rule number 6. So I love to give this new white paper I've written called The 5 Mistakes New Millionaires Make. So I encourage people to act as if you're already a millionaire, if you're not yet. And get this free white paper, The 5 Mistakes New Millionaires Make, by texting to the number 66866 That's 66866 prosperity. And you'll get that free white paper. And you get a few more. I give a few gifts when you sign up.
Oh, that's perfect and so generous. Thank you so much, Joel. Do you have any final words of wisdom to share with us?
Well, the final words of wisdom is hashtag doubt the doubt. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're an individual, there are some doubts you're having right now. I'm pretty sure you may have one or few. So why you have faith in your doubt your doubts. Have faith in your dreams and desires, and watch the world change around you.
Yes. Watch the world change around you. Thank you so much, Joel Salomon. I'm going to have the link for all of you to connect with him in the show notes, and the link for that white paper as well, so you know what mistakes those millionaires make. And there'll be other gifts as well. I want to thank each and every one of you that have been listening and watching on Awaken and Ascend. We'll see you again next week. And Joel, so grateful for the time you shared with us today and all the tips on how we can create money miracles. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, for having me. It's, again, extreme pleasure and honor to be here. Thank you so much.